will keep it fairly brief because there's a lot of what comes next, I think, is the most important with our colleague, Dr. Liechty, presenting data on LSD study he's been conducting. I think it's impossible to gather here and not recognize the good fortune that we all have, but also the backdrop of the entire world and the challenges that we're facing. We just heard some of the statistics. In the United States, 1 in 5 individuals is diagnosed with a mental health disorder. That's grown by 25% over the last year, a staggering number. Same time, there's been a resurgence in the reason we're all here in psychedelics and other novel mechanisms to treat these disorders that really could usher in a new paradigm, an entirely new way of treating these patients. It's important to think about why, we all are excited. We wouldn't be here if we weren't excited, but the question is, why are we excited, right? The reason why, certainly I'm excited, I think the reason why we hear from some of the world-leading psychiatrists and patients that they're excited is because the treatments that are available are largely oriented to symptom blunting. I had the good fortune of hearing Dr. Nutt talk about this yesterday and the mechanisms and the differences between the SRIs and the standard of care and psychedelics. And really what we have with the psychedelics is a treatment where just one or a few administrations can lead to rapid and sustained benefit. It's something that we've heard from numerous regulators they see as a game changer, something that really meaningfully shifts the way patients can be cared for. It's also important for us as an organization and for all of us as a field to be able to talk over noises like this, to realize what we don't know, to realize all of the open questions and the hard questions that we're going to have to face. Some of them are informed by new findings that are coming out in research. Some of them are having to be very intentional and rigorous in the science we're conducting. That is certainly what we are oriented at MindMed to do. And one of the drivers, I've had the good fortune of working with a number of organizations in the psychedelic space generally over the last several years. And I think as an entire field, we owe it to ourselves to answer the very hard questions ahead, to answer questions that are going to be difficult, maybe sometimes unpopular. But the only way to do this, the only way to prove to the world that we have a class of therapies that has the effects that we all believe they do, that is safe and effective with prolonged clinical benefit to patients, is to do the hard work, is to do those studies and provide definitive evidence to regulators and providers and patients in the entire world that what we think is the case is indeed true with a high degree of confidence. That's why we're all here. That's why we all spend our lives doing this. That's why I believe we'll be successful, because we're going to do those studies and we're going to see an enormous growth in the field and progress for all of our programs. I also think it's critically important to realize that there's an element here where our collective success is going to both benefit all of us, but also more importantly, benefit patients. There are so many studies ongoing, so many organizations. It's so great to be here in person and see our friends and peers. And it gets talked about as if we're all working in different directions, but so many of the questions are unifying. So many of the answers we need to give to the field are not about one individual program, but are about how this whole drug class is going to be delivered, how patients are going to be cared for, and how at the end of the day, we are going to usher an entirely new day in treating psychiatric diseases and treating brain health disorders generally. And I think that's something we can all come away from this, hopefully, together intellectually, and certainly being together in person goes a long way to facilitate that. And so that we do stay on schedule, I'm gonna stop myself here and go ahead and introduce Dr. Matthias Liechty and Frieda Holze. A little under 90 years ago, LSD was discovered by Albert Hofmann looking for stimulants. Obviously, we all know the story from there. We know tens of thousands of patients have been administered LSD in clinical studies alone. It would be impossible to count the number of individuals who have been exposed to LSD since then. We've seen now psilocybin coming to clinical trials, DMT, all of these molecules that have an action on the serotonin system, and all of the historical data that we are so confident in that gives us excitement needs this modern evidence. We've seen some great studies come out already. I believe I'm accurate in saying this is going to be the best conducted, highest quality study of LSD, perhaps ever, but certainly the best study in modern times looking at LSD to treat anxiety disorders. So I don't know if you're going to do another intro of Matthias, but terrific. Thank you all for being here. It's great to see everyone. Really appreciate this and looking forward to hearing all that we have today.